Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to the Literature Socratic Dialogue. Language has a huge role to play when it comes to our business operations. So, is language just limited to the content writers in your organization, or does language affect all of us? We generally tend to think of language as a communication device. Generally, we think of language as something which has got to do with the world outside. But what is the connection of language to the world inside? This is exactly what we guys will be discussing over the next hour. And before we go in with the program, I'd like to request the teams to go in with your introductions. Who'd like to go in first? Would one of you want to go in with your introduction?
Yeah, I can go. Hi, this is Raman, and I work at Deep Thought as a backend developer, and I work on interesting projects.
Thank you, Raman. Who's going next?
I'll go. Hello, everyone. I am Deepthi, and I'm a content writer for a client company at Deep Thought. I help spread my company's message to the world.
Thank you, Deepthi.
Hello everyone, I am Vitali and I am a psychology student and I came here as an industrial psychologist and I'm basically trying to understand human behavior to apply it to the organization.
Thank you, Mitali.
I'm Shakiba.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bala.
Balaji, let Shakiba go in and then you can go in. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Shakiba. I'm working as a technical project manager for the client company named Creative Organic.
Thank you, Shakiba. Over to you, Balaji.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Balaji. I work as technical project manager for Creative Organic.
Thank you, Balaji.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Purnima and I work as a front-end developer at Deep Thought.
Thank you, Purnima. We shall request the jurors to go in with your introductions. Nanda Kishore or Abraham, one of you wants to go in first.
Yeah, sure. My name is Nand Kishore. I'm a data scientist and currently a CEO and managing director of Quant Innovations Private Limited, a deep tech startup working on healthcare and education sector in Kerala. So we are from IIT Palakkad, so our headquartered at IIT Palakkad, supported from them, and I mean, it's a happy to interact with you guys and learn a lot from you guys.
Thank you, Nanda Kishore. Hope you'll have a great time today.
Yeah, hi all. My name is Abraham Varghese, and I'm the founder and CEO of Breaker. Breaker is a construction tech platform. It's a prop tech platform, basically. And we are working on AR and VR technology, and we are delivering designs in virtual reality to our clients. And yeah, I'm heading business development and marketing in our team. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Abraham. Over to my co-mods for your introductions.
Hello, everyone. This is Umang, currently operations manager at Deep Thought. I would be the co-moderator of today.
Okay. Thank you, Umang.
Thank you, Umang. Hello, everyone. I'm Tushar. I'm a leader at Deep Thought, working on developing some systems that can help people become more behaviorally and cognitively competent. So yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Tushar.
Good evening. I'm Shomita, and I have been in Deep Thought as a financial strategy researcher. And I have been here for almost more than 6 months, and it's nice to be here.
Thank you, Samita. Hi, all. This is Tarun here. I'm your moderator for the day, and I hope I can streamline all the fantastic philosophical thoughts which will come in from all the participants today. Yeah. So, which team is going in first? I mean, who's picked up question for discussion 1? It is Team John Seal, right? Sorry, it's Team Ludwig, yeah. So wait, before we go in, I mean, we have this ritual of asking why you picked up this name. So would one of you want to explain why you picked up this team name?
Okay, so Ludwig Ludwig Wittgenstein said that every word's meaning can be derived depending on the ways in which you use it. So our pitch is basically based on this idea, and that's the reason we have picked his name.
Thank you, Deepti. Team John Seal.
Yeah, we have picked John Sill to pay respect to Sir John Sill for his contributions to the towards philosophy.
Okay, thank you, Balaji. So I think it's Team Ludwig which is going in first, right? So yeah, please go ahead with your pitch.
So Professor Wittgenstein said that if you want to know the meaning of the word, you can look at different ways it is used. So allow me to demonstrate the different uses of a word repercussion in different sentences. Okay, so the first sentence is, students don't ask questions in classroom because they are afraid of the possible repercussions. Second one, government couldn't think of a possible repercussion of demonetization. Third one, cloud seeding is a good technology as it helps overcoming repercussions of unseasonal rainfall. What do you think the meaning of repercussions is from this? Do you think it is related to consequences? Mitali, why don't you help us out here?
Yeah, so as you saw that Deepti related it to consequences. So the word repercussion and consequences, we might think that they are same, but are they really same? Do we really understand the meaning of both the words? Are they very similar or are they very different? So understanding how we can understand both of these words, we will build a connection, and Raman will guide you through how we can build a connection on that.
Yeah. So when we can say we understand something, and why do we need to understand something? So we often use this phrase called connecting the dots. So uh, let's say we want to understand a paragraph. So the paragraph contains two or more lines. When we have the first line, we understand what it actually means, and and the next line we understand by that as well. But how these two lines are connected with each other? So understanding is what we're getting out of the whole, I would say.
So how is this connected to your repercussions, ramifications, and all of that?
Repercussions and consequences. These are synonyms. These are synonyms, and these are words that helps us to. And every word is a concept, and these concepts are basically that helps us to understand the situations, and understand itself is a word. So we are trying to understand the understanding.
To add to that, if you look at the words repercussion and consequences, they both look similar at first. If you understand their meaning, you understand how different repercussion is from consequences. That is the difference between knowing and understanding. You think you know the meaning, but when you understand the word, then you realize its meaning. So we are going to talk about how you can understand a word.
Okay. Thank you for that, Team Ludwig. Team John Seal, would you want to go in with your questions? So they've demonstrated the meaning of two different words, how they contrast them, and said, you can go deep into understanding what the meaning is. Team John Seal, would you have questions?
Yeah, okay, so I would like to ask, if a person is not able to grasp the exact meaning of the concept, so how can you ensure that the person has understood the concept in a very deeper comprehension?
Could you please repeat your question?
If someone didn't understand the meaning of the word, how do you ensure that the person has actually got the depth of the word?
Okay, we try to use the word in different sentences. Like, for example, how I demonstrated the meaning of repercussions to you guys by reading it out in three different
Okay,
sentences.
got your team Ludwig. Back to team John C for your question. You asked what would you do, and they said they'll give different examples. Back to your team, John C.
I'm not clear about it. And my question was, how would you how would you ensure that thing? Like, what are the steps you would take, or what are the criteria you would like to prefer for that?
We can take examples for demonstrating the meaning of a word.
Got your team Ludwig? Yeah, Purnima.
Yeah, what if someone is not able to understand through examples?
Got
What
it.
if they don't understand your examples?
Got you. Ludwig, can you take the question?
I think if that person is not able to understand by the examples, maybe that person is not able, not willing to understand that thing.
Maybe what if he is real?
I'm saying that maybe the person is not able to understand your examples. So is it really the case that they don't want to understand?
Yeah, good question, team John C. Back to you, team Ludwig.
Could be one of the possibilities, like why not?
We could then try taking examples that they relate to using.
How would you know that what examples they would relate to?
We can ask them what they know or what they understand by the word.
But they don't understand the word only, right? You're using examples to make them understand.
Got you, Purnima. Got you. Yeah, back to your team, Ludwig.
For making us understand, like whether they are understanding or not, we can ask them to give us some examples.
Okay, back to your team C.
Yeah, what if after the examples provided you were unable to comprehend and get them on the same place and line?
Wait, I thought the question was tangential, but do you get his argument? He said he'll ask them to explain the word and that's how they'll understand what they know. So does that really answer your question?
Yeah, to an extent, it was an answerable question.
You asked, how will you know what they relate to, right? He said, I'll ask them to explain the word and I'll know what they relate to. Does that answer your question?
Not to the point.
For example, you use the word repercussion. People don't understand the word. He'll ask them to explain the word repercussion.
Okay, yeah, on some level, yeah, it does answer the question.
Okay, if I don't know the word repercussion and you ask me to explain the word repercussion, how do you know what I relate to?
But we can ask that person, where did you hear this word? And we can. And
I didn't hear. What next?
But that after that, then why would that person will ask for such a thing? If
I don't know the word. I don't know the word. Then what do you do?
I can create some examples, and when he got the example, I can tell that this example represent this activity represent this.
What if I don't understand your example?
I think we don't directly jump into the examples part. We first give them the basic meaning and then we jump into the examples.
How do you give that basic meaning?
Okay, we'll try to explain it in simple words. Repercussion means an unintended or unexpected outcome.
What if I don't understand what that means? How do you give me a simple example? You said you'll give a relatable example. That's where this entire thread started. How do you know what relates to me? I think you're boiling the ocean. It's something simple, but you're boiling the ocean. How do you know what relates to me?
What do you relate to?
Who would I know?
I will try to get to know you.
Like how?
Like I will ask different questions to you. And
like what?
Like what's your age?
Okay, I'm 31.
Yeah, like what do you want to eat?
Biryani, I'm from Hyderabad.
Yeah, what if you get let's say you eat some biryani and you got food poisoning.
Okay.
Then I can say that there are repercussions of eating biryani, I guess. So I can relate to that.
Okay, so Team Seal, back to you for your questioning. I thought you had some good questions to ask there. Back to you. I hope this answers your question of how will you relate, right? He just gave us a demonstration.
Yeah, it really answered it.
Okay, so we'll conclude the first round here. We request the jurors to move to the jury room so we could do the scoring. You could click on the breakout rooms icon and you'll see the list of rooms. You can move to the meeting room. You could click on the breakout rooms icon and on next to meeting room, you'll see join. You can click on the join button there. Okay. Tushar, could you stay here? Umang would probably get the jurors. So Tushar, you could organize a reflection of Team Seal. And Team Ludwig, could you come to buffer room 2, please? Yeah, Tushar, you could organize a reflection. This is, you could organize a reflection again.
Sure. Right. So anyone who would like to go ahead and reflect, what did you capture from the discussion that you just had?
Okay, yeah, I can go ahead. So I think what the two things that I captured from the discussion is that if you're trying to explain a concept to someone, or even if you're trying to understand a word or concept, you can always use examples. Examples are a very powerful way to understand something. But also the second thing is that you have to be very careful what kind of examples you use, because let's say you're using some example, another person doesn't relate to it, then they will not be able to understand it, right? So you would want to know what kind of example they might relate to. That's what Raman demonstrated with Tarun, right? He tried to know him, what his hobbies was, and then he tried to show him an example that he would relate to. So that was a really nice thing.
Great. Thank you, Purnima. Mr. Abram, like you're not able to move, I suppose.
Yeah, which room exactly? Buffer.
Yes,
meeting room.
Please don't click. Please don't click. Please don't click. Please don't click.
Okay.
Now you can click. Now you can click.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Team Seal, please come to buffer room 1, please. Tushar, you can continue the discussion with Team Ludwig.
Yes, sure. Right. So team Cell said a really good observation. So would you like to share your reflection as well? What did you capture from the discussion that you just had?
Yeah, I would like to go ahead. One thing which I found very, very insightful is that we must give examples which are related to the person we are explaining to, so that they will basically understand, like deeply understand the concept or idea.
Yeah, interesting using relatable examples. Great. Thank you, Mitali. Anyone else who would like to go ahead and share their reflection? Balaji, you can move to the buffer room with Tarun, right?
Which buffer room?
Oh, okay, let me quickly move you there.
It's buffer room 1.
Yeah, I'm not able to move you. Yeah, buffer room 1, yes, please. Yeah, right. Raman, Deepti would like to go ahead with your reflection. Yeah. Okay. Yes, the room name is meeting room, Mr. Abraham. Like there are 5 buffer rooms in one meeting room, right? So you can join the meeting room. I think there might be some issues with the Zoom.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. That's fine, Mr. Abraham. You can stay here as well, right? Since there are some issues with the Zoom. So, yeah. Right. Meanwhile, Deepti, Raman, or would you like to share your reflections?
Okay, when I joined this meeting, right, I was nervous that I would be going live, and I was a bit stuttering in the beginning. But then I looked at my team and I saw, and that gave me a little courage, and I went ahead with my pitch. So I would like to reflect that it's great to have a team with me right now. I'm grateful to you guys.
Great. Thank you for that, Deepti. Right. Yeah, just a moment,
Okay.
Raman. Mr. Abram, you can stay in this room. I think there are some issues with Zoom. So because of which you might not be able to move. Right. We apologize for the inconveniences that it might be causing you. Right. Raman, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think when we prepared for it, like we have different things in mind. But when we are really in the field, we have different questions that we have to counter. So it's an amazing experience.
Right, great. Thank you, Raman. Right. Okay. So one thing that I observed as well was the moment when you gave the demonstration, right? So when we are not able to understand certain things, we give a live example to the person, right? That live demonstration, and it helps you better understand the idea. So it was, quite a good thing to observe.
Okay, so now we shall take questions from the jurors. But before the jurors come in, would one of you want to quickly summarize what was your topic? In 2 or 3.
In our pitch, we try to differentiate between what is knowing and understanding of understanding a word, and you understand a word by looking at different use cases of it.
Thank you, Deepthi. Over to the jurors for your questions.
Great. So shall I ask questions to both of the team or one of the team?
It's only to the answer box.
Pardon?
So Team Ludwig would be taking your questions, Mr. Nandakishore.
Great. So your topic is the difference between learning and understanding, right?
Knowing and understanding.
Yeah, got it. Knowing and understanding of word, or maybe sentences of a word. So so what the concept when it comes to remembering so let me give some simple example. So you learn your mathematics, maybe simple linear algebra in your 8th or 10th standard, and you have the memory of the basics polynomial equation, minus b plus 1 minus square root of b square minus 4x by 2a, finding the x part. So you remember the equation. Okay, so that's the remembering part. But when it comes to the learning part, what exactly that makes when it comes to learning these kind of the equations and implementing on your life or on your curriculum, what you understand by these concepts? So remembering a mathematical equation.
Okay, so Nandakishore, if I got your question right, so there's one thing which is to remember the equations. So what exactly is to understand the equations?
Yes, exactly, to the point. That's it.
Yeah, over to you, Team Ludwig. Would you want to take the question? Not what it means to remember the equations, but what does it mean to understand those equations?
Understand the equation.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So remembering is basically storing that piece of information in our mind, right? So when we say I understand an equation, it means I understand the idea behind the equation, the real concept.
What does that mean?
As I said, and in equations, we use equations to solve problems, right? So before the problem, we are at a certain position, and after solving the problem, we have the solution, right? So we have a problem and a solution, right? So we can equate. So let's say on the LHS left hand side, we have the problem, and equal to we have a solution.
Got it. But the question is very intriguing when it comes to mathematics. You don't understand everything when it comes to solving a higher order partial derivative equation or something like that. You cannot understand everything. The notations are very complex. You have to remember these kind of things in your mind. If you don't remember this equation and implement it fast enough, you cannot win your exams. So the question is very clear. You cannot visualize all these concepts or visualize all these knowledge into your mind and understand the core concept behind the mathematics equations.
So, Mr. Nandakishore, if I understand your question, how would you understand or how would you visualize these complex notation?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, Team Ludwig, would you want to take that? How do you visualize or understand complex notation?
By breaking them down into
How?
understandable pieces.
I think.
Yeah, that's
I
it.
think,
How?
Yeah, I think notations contain symbols, right? And those symbols represent something. If we try to understand that thing.
Can you give an example?
Uh,
Let's say dy by dx.
dy by dx. Okay, differentiation of y with respect to differentiation of x.
I don't understand it.
So what this differentiation means? What are you differentiating on? Is it differentiating on a table, or differentiating on something?
Can we give another example? Like, I'm bad at math.
Sorry, if you want to try another example, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Like, I'm asking.
Sorry.
Anyone from Ludwig? I think. Can anyone from Ludwig?
Raman, I couldn't hear you. What were you saying?
Yeah, I was saying, can you give me another example?
Another.
Yeah, dx over dy. Okay, let's say dx and dy, right? So d have different meaning, and y have a different meaning. Y is basically playing there as a variable, playing a role of a variable, and x as well. But d is differentiation, but we don't know what differentiation actually is. So we try to break this thing apart.
Let me make it clear for you. So differentiation is splitting this thing to, say, it has built upon atoms. See, this is built on atoms. You're making it smaller and smaller, and you're splitting it in. So let me explain to you. That's it. In splitting into individual atoms. And differentiation is something like that. Integration is joining together to form this pencil. So that's the part that you're missing. So, and according to that, can you rectify the questions I'm asking? So
the question is, when the notation is very scary, when the notation is very technical, how would you understand it?
We can understand what that notation means, like as Mr. Nandakishore just demonstrated, that differentiation means the splitting up and integration means the combining. So we understood what that differentiation and integration basic, like at the basics.
What is the process you're doing here? If you have to define this process in one word, what would you call it? What are you doing to the notation? What is the process you're applying over the notation? Whatever you just did, right? What do you call it?
Process of understanding.
A different word. It's not exactly understanding, right? What are you doing for that? I mean, whatever you just said, what is it of dy by dx? Sorry?
Meaning making.
Okay, but in a physics context, what do you call it?
Driving.
What are you doing to the notation when you're saying it's like a pair, it's like breaking it into pieces or whatever, you're giving all those explanations, right? What are those explanations called?
Theorems.
Sorry? When you told me that it is differentiation of y by x, I didn't understand. Then he came up with a story, I understand. Now what is that story called?
Example.
No. I gave you a sentence and you say it is like somebody running at this speed and this thing happening and so on. So what is that comparison called? Okay, the constitution tells you something and you're trying to understand in your case what the constitution tells. What do you call it?
A use case.
In the legal context, what is that use case called?
Case study.
No. The law tells something, you're trying to see how you will be affected by that law. What do you call it? I mean, in physics, this is how we learn physics. When there are equations, we do something to the equation. Whatever Mr. Nandakishore just did, there's a name for it. Okay, by the way, we call it an interpretation. We have a physical interpretation for notation. Okay, would you? So Team Ludwig, would you now want to organize your answer? How do you deal with notation if you want to understand notation, if you want to understand complex mathematics?
We would want to interpret it with we would want to interpret it using examples or basic meanings.
Okay.
Yeah, like
And
breaking.
there's a subject in mathematics called Principle of Mathematical Induction, or PMI. So some of you heard of that. It's basically the language part of mathematics where deal with defining things, and you basically uses language to prove something. So some of you have heard of that PMI in your +2 or in your high syllabus.
Yeah, PMI is just one way of proving and is not particularly considered very elegant way of proving.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't really capture the mathematical essence of the structure.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Abram, if you have some questions, we'll close.
Yeah, fine. Okay, so yeah, team Ludwig. Yeah, your topic is knowing and understanding, and if you guys are planning to start something, or if you are working on a idea, okay, so exactly what's in your mind, what you are planning to do to know the customer pain or to understand the customer pain?
Mr. Abram, that would not be how are you relating it to the topic of knowing versus understanding?
Yeah, that's my question to the Ludwig team. Exactly what they are actually planning. That means they are planning to know. That means that's then according to their answer, I'm framing that.
So if you're starting your business, would you try to know the customer's pain or would you try to understand the customer's pain? Did I get that right? Mr. Abram, did I get your question right? When you start a business, would you know the customer's pain or would you understand the customer's pain?
Yeah, customer's pain.
What do you team, Ludwig?
I think we would understand the customer's pain, because knowing is like basically acknowledging that, okay, this is the customer is feeling or whatever. But when we understand it, we can relate to it, and we develop our processes based on those, like considering those situations.
Okay, so what are the techniques you are going to take? What are the steps you are going to take for understanding that problem?
You said you want to understand, but how?
One thing we can try is we can reach to the potential customers and we can try to understand.
How?
By questioning them.
Okay. What if they can't articulate?
We can explain them. We can explain them a product, and then we can ask them to say
okay,
the
you are
things
on an
that
ideation
bothers them
stage, and
about
where
it.
is your product?
There's no product, right? You're just trying to understand
the product. You are trying to understand something, or you are trying to knowing something. Then where is the product? How you explain to them, this is my product, and like that.
Sir, we can tell them that we can have a product that can solve this problem.
Sorry, pardon?
We can
tell them that he can solve their problem through a product.
Okay, through but that word, how you understand the exact real pain of the customer?
So, Raman, are you sure you're answering the question? The question is, how do you understand their pain?
Okay, the pain, okay, so it's the pain, right? So pain must have a starting point. And that person is at some stage that he is having that pain, right? So there must be steps in between, like where the pain actually starts. So we can question them, question those people. So like,
my question is, what if they can't articulate these steps? And what if they can't articulate the pain? A lot of times that's what happens. The customers can't articulate.
But they can but they can talk in their, like, whatever language they use or whatever.
But what if they're not able to
structuring.
express it? What if they're not able to express what's inside them?
Aren't they able to express in any way?
Okay. Okay, what if they express, but they're not able to clearly express? Then what do you do?
Okay, then then I can search for other people who are also having that pain, right? So so I can just find the average, or like you know different people. So so those different people, those that having that pain, I can just get their articulations and try to grasp like what is going on. It's only about the one person that he is
Okay,
not able to articulate.
I'd like to go back to your original pitch. So what is your recommendation for understanding a word? What is the method you were recommending to understand a word?
Connecting the dots.
Look at it in different sentences.
So do you think you could apply that principle to this particular situation as well?
We could give them different situations. We could explain our customers where our products could solve their problems.
Why are you bringing the product? I mean, this is the amateur.
Yeah, you are on the ideation stage, right? And Deepthi, you are exactly on your ideation stage, and there is no product is there. And actually, you are planning to build something. Not your product is ready.
So Deepthi,
or
why
your product is not even in a MVP stage. Okay, so you are on ideation phase. So you and your team is completely ideating something. So in that phase, how you understand the customer problem and how you understand the real pain of the customers.
I think you guys are going on tangents here. So rather than focusing on the problem, you're trying to bring a product and so on. Okay, I'll give you one last chance before closing the round. So your idea was to examine the word in different situations. So do you think that, okay, you're going to give situations to the customer. What are you going to do in the situation? Your objective is to understand their pain, right? So what can you do? Okay. In the interest of time, I would like to close the round. I thought it was a very beautiful discussion, although Team Ludwig could have done better. Yeah. Yeah. So we request.
I have one doubt. It's a simple question for Ludwig, Team Ludwig. Can I understand without remembering? Can I understand without remembering?
Sir, you cannot understand without remembering.
Remembering is the foundation of understanding.
No, actually, I can. If say you are learn something in as a solution in mathematics, as I go for the mathematics part, you have a question in maths. You don't remember the exact steps, everything onto it. You just understand the question, you just solve it. There's no need to remember the exact step of solving that equation.
Sir, but you understand the words, but you remember the words in your question.
No, exactly.
Mr. Nandakishore, you're talking of remembering the question and understanding the answer. So technically speaking, you remember your answer.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking something related to a simple reduction question.
No. There's a contradiction in your statement, because you said you remember. You said you remember your question. You understand your solution. Is that what you said?
No. I'm asking something like, can you understand? I mean, without remember.
So their answer was you can't. Their answer is you have to remember to understand. You gave a counter example to that. No, what was your counter example?
So the counter example is very simple. You have a problem, a mathematics problem. You don't have to remember every steps. I mean, it's not mandatory to remember everything. So it's a snippet of can be remembered, but not you have to remember everything. Everything is joining the connection. That's already discussed. But the boundary between understanding and remembering is not yet drawn yet. It depends on person to person. So you don't have to remember everything. Some prodigies don't have to remember all the mathematics equation like Ramanuja. So Ramanuja doesn't remember everything. He just get into his brain. So that's what I'm saying. Some example is the mathematical genius Ramanuja.
So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so what he's saying is if you understand, you probably deduce, so you don't have to remember, you can deduce and bring it out.
Exactly, that's what I'm asking. The question is
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I would say that for understanding anything, like for building upon a concept, you have to remember something very basic.
No, he just contradicted that by saying, okay, you're saying you have to remember something basic.
Yes.
Yes, you said you don't have to remember everything, but some things you do need to, right?
Okay, in the interest of time, I really have to close this. I request the jurors to move to the meeting room so we can move to the second segment.
Sure.
So, Mr. Abraham, you can click on the breakout rooms button, and then next to meeting room, you'll see join. You can click on the join button.
Yeah, actually, we are on meeting room, right? And rest of others are buffer rooms.
Yeah. So you can just click on meeting room. There's a join button right next to meeting room.
Okay, fine.
Okay. I thought this round was particularly interesting for the tangents which the answers went into. So, Deepthi, I think you were so biased into the product that you probably didn't understand the question, and which, I mean, this is a problem I think which a lot of people go through. Mr. Abraham, were you able to find the join button? Tushar, could you give a call to Mr. Abraham and help me?
Sorry. Yeah. There are 5 buffer rooms and 1 meeting room. Okay.
You click on meeting room at the end.
Yeah, exactly. I'm currently in meeting room.
No, you'll have to click on the join button. You're in the main room right now with us.
Same. 1 second. 1 second.
So, yeah, until Mr. Abraham is back. So, Deepthi, I think, so it's not about language or questioning or answering, but it's about thought process, right? So, do you differentiate between problem and pain point? You seem to look at them interchangeably, which they're not. This is a big mistake which a lot of people also get into, right? They tend to see the problem and the pain point is the same thing, but your pain point lives independent of the problem. Even if you don't have independent of the product, even if you don't have a product, you still have the pain point. The customer still has the pain point. So the pain point is more fundamental than the problem itself. That was what the question is about. And then I thought you had a beautiful concept of putting people in different situations so that the situation can contribute to meaning. That's a nice way to look at words. So you want to understand your customer, you can probably investigate the customer around various situations. And when you investigate the customer around various situations, you can understand how the customer feels. So instead of just hearing sentences, you could have analyzed various situations where the customer is feeling that pain, and there you could understand the pain rather than just knowing certain information. That I thought was a very interesting thread which emerged. I thought this round was very interesting because you spoke of interpreting a word or looking at the word in different situations. Now that we saw it in a mathematical context initially. And then later we saw it from a problem solving context in the sense that how do you investigate a pain point before solving a pain point? And I think, yes, I mean, language has a role to play because now that I step back and see why a lot of salespeople focus on the product rather than the problem, or why we tend to get carried away, I feel probably there's a language issue there in terms of inability to distinguish between structures, product, pain point, and so on. So it was very nice. I mean, it was very cross-functional and brought in a lot of lateral connections. Do you guys have some reflections until Mr. Abraham is back? Mr. Nandkishore is already back. Yeah, Deepthi?
I would like to reflect on how I got confused between pain point and the problem, and I brought in the product there. But still, how Tarun explained that I could have said it in a different way, that I could have put customers in different situations to understand their pain points, which was something I didn't think of at that point, but now that I think about it, it feels like an amazing answer I could have given at that point.
Deepti, again, let's not go into the question answer mode which our stupid coaching institutes have taught us. Let's understand what is a thought process which we missed, right? Like equating a problem with a product. Even now, I think you're not recognizing it. It's a language problem. You're equating a problem with a product. Problem and product are not the same. You're seeing problem and product to be the same thing, and that's why you went into the trap. But the moment you see the problem separately and product separately, you could have probably thought through the question a little easily. Like me having mosquito bites is my problem. Odomos is your product, which is a solution. But you could also give me Morphine All Out or something. Those could be other solutions, other products. But the problem is different from the product. Okay.
Yes.
Over to team John Seal for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Tarun. So our pitch is about literary criticism. Our QFD was to critique the Socratic questionnaire. So I would start by saying that literary criticism is an essential tool that helps us to understand and interpret literature in a meaningful way. In the Socratic dialogue questionnaire, we have explored various concepts of understanding languages and facets of literary criticism. I would like to start my critique by saying that the questionnaire might not seem relatable or something that brings value to people from an economically weaker background. When someone is working every day to have a basic livelihood, they might not be tempted to invest in the self-development that the questions offer. I would like Balaji to go ahead with his critique and bring in a feminist approach here.
Yeah, thanks for that, Purnima. Like if you see the questionnaire is doesn't highlighted he or he, him, his, her, such a kind of word highlighting just one gender or perspective, but which we would see in many things, many works around highlighting a proper gender. But what we thought had missed, they have highlighted Aristotle, who is a great philosopher from the Greek times. But there were many other women philosophers like Tania, Maya, and Arti, who were one of the greatest philosophers of the same time. If we have highlighted that, it would have much great. Yeah. Now, Shakiba can take over from the romantic criticism.
Yeah, thank you, Balaji. So I would like to talk about this romantic period. Romantic period is basically marked as the belief where the power of the individual and the transform of the imagination of the world and the society. What happens here is that we basically discuss about the emotions and the individualism, how it led to a movement in the art and the literature. So I would like to end up by saying that all these concepts are provoking and challenging to us engage in the critical thinking while analyzing about the literature. Thank you.
Okay, so the team presented their criticism of the questionnaire which you read. So over to team Ludwig for your questions.
Is critical thinking and critiquing different?
I would say that critical thinking is an act of critically thinking about a literature piece. When you're coming up with questions on how you're gonna, basically you're trying to come up with questions and thinking about the literature. But critiquing is when you ask those questions for the piece of literature. You're trying to critique it. I would say that.
Does that answer?
Well,
Wait, what is critical thinking again?
I would say that critical thinking is basically you are trying to think from a critical point of view. Basically, you're trying to analyze, thinking of questions for any piece of literature. And when you are critiquing it, you are basically asking those questions in a way.
And in both cases, you said you're asking questions.
Okay, yes.
Tarun, in critical thinking, we look for the evidences, observation, and we see for the analysis. Well, in criticism or critic, we mostly look for it's more about the judgmental and fault finding.
Okay. Back to
Yeah.
team.
So does critiquing only involve fault finding?
We do identify the strength and the weakness of an individual or any other concept, and we try to analyze what areas to be improved. So we can work on that, and we try to bring a good amount of concept, and we can try to improve about that concept as well.
Can critic ever be harmful?
Sorry, can you repeat? What can
Yeah.
be harmful?
Yeah, can ever be harmful?
Okay. I would say it would depend on how the author, or let's say whoever the person is taking the criticism for that piece of literature. At an individual level, it depends on their perception of how they take it. But also, if you're critiquing anything on a general level, I think maybe using a language in a polite manner can,
Wait, is that what you mean by harmful? Wait, Raman, does that answer your question? I mean, what did you mean by harmful?
Like, can it hurt someone when we criticize?
Okay. Wait, is that what you mean by criticism here? What does the word criticism in literary criticism mean? Does it mean to criticize and do fault finding in the literature?
No, I would say not. It basically analyzes the piece of literature, and it will point out any
So is this
positive
question
points or
relevant?
negative points.
So is this question relevant?
I would say no.
Okay, back to your team, Ludwig. She says
Why?
the question is not relevant because you didn't understand what criticism in literary criticism means.
You're saying criticism is like analyzing. So why don't we analyze in a positive light? Why do we analyze in a negative light in criticism?
Again, I'm not sure
usually?
your question is valid. I'm not sure if you heard their previous response. They said criticism is to analyze a piece of literature. So you seem to be bringing your own assumptions here. Team Ludwig, do you have a question? Do you have a relevant question?
Why do you need to critique a literary piece?
Okay. Team C, will you take that?
Yeah, any of my team members would like to take that question?
Yeah. Why do you need to critique at the first point is to know the quality of the work, and to it's not to being biased. As I mentioned, as from feminist point of view, it's most of the work you see it has been highlighted towards a particular gender, pushing someone forward for some role, or to not get brainwashed, and to get the actual essence and the quality of the piece of work.
Okay, I think what he's trying to say is to look at the quality of work, to analyze it from different angles. For example, I think he was trying to talk about the gender roles, right? Like, is it biased towards men or biased towards women?
Yeah.
Does it have any association with gender? So he's saying he would like to analyze that. Did I get that right, Balaji?
Yeah, Tarun.
Yeah. Team Ludwig, do you have any question?
How critic is different from literary criticism?
Okay, I think basically a criticism can be about anything, but when we are talking about literature criticism, we are criticizing a piece of literature. So yeah.
What do we get when we criticize a piece of literature?
Okay, the first thing is that we get to check the quality of the literature. Second, I would also like to say that when you are critiquing a piece of literature, you might find new understanding of the literature that you might have not found when you were just reading it, because you're basically questioning the piece of literature. You're trying to come up with questions, so that can bring in a new understanding also of what you're reading.
From which lens did you criticize the questionnaire?
Okay, yes. So basically, we use three types of criticism. I use the Marxist criticism when I talked about the economic differences, how the questionnaire might not be relevant to economical weaker people. And Balaji talked from the feminist criticism point of view, where he talked about how, in the questionnaire, there was no mention of female philosophers, which could have been there to bring in different perspectives. And Shakiba talked from the romantic criticism angle when she talked about the literature, about the angle of book reading in literature that was brought in, and about the Renaissance.
Okay, I shall close the round here because it was quite disappointing to see that the question box didn't even listen to your pitch and went on tangents with the questions. I'd like to request the jurors to move to the meeting room for the scoring. Okay, guys, got some feedback to offer. I've been doing a lot of Socratic dialogues with adults and I've done Socratic dialogues with students. And I think one pattern I've seen is 18 plus don't listen. 18 plus is too occupied with opinion, too occupied with own opinion. Looks like, you wanted to pick that word criticism and ask questions around the word criticism than to, it looks like you guys didn't even listen to what their pitch was. I thought beautiful questions could have been asked around their analysis. Mr. Abraham, you can click on breakout rooms and click on join right next to meeting room. Happy to help in case of. Oh, okay. So I'm not sure. See, look, I'm seeing a pattern here. Last time Deepthi didn't listen to the question. She just went into product without listening carefully. We're trying to think about the pain point, not the product. Here, what we saw is they picked the word criticism and trying to ask criticism without trying to understand the idea on hand, right? Like, I mean, guys, be brutally honest. Did you listen to their pitch? And Balaji, I feel your delivery can be a lot better. I'm not sure if anybody understood what you said. Delivery can be a lot better. Maybe that's also one of the reasons why their questions were not pointed to your argument. But guys, I mean, their pitch was this, right? Purnima said she wanted to criticize it from a Marxist perspective. She said this questionnaire may not appeal to people from the economically weaker sections because they're more focused on livelihood, not on self-development. So they may not show interest. So someone who's coming from an economically weaker background who's becoming a software developer may not show interest in this topic. So how are you going to make it relevant is her point. Balaji said that this was fairly gender neutral. We did not associate any him, her, or something like that in the questionnaire, but he felt that some female philosophers' arguments could have been used in the questionnaire so that, that impression is not created that it's only men who contributed to philosophy of language. That was his pitch. And Shakiba, to be honest, even I didn't understand what she was trying to say. But yeah, the first two, I think I got it. She said that during this period, individuality and aesthetics were given attention to. But how she analyzed it, she said this questionnaire is making people think. But what is the aesthetics in this questionnaire or what is the individuality? I'm not sure if she brought out in her pitch. But yeah, these were the ideas which they gave. Yeah, the jurors are back. We'd love to take your questions.
Great. So the question is, it's very simple. So how will you explain this concept? Say, is critical thinking and critic. That's the first thing that you guys asked, and Team Ludwig has been asked. And the question is something like, how will you explain this concept with a simple example for a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old to understand what is exactly what exactly that critical thinking and critique means?
The topic is not critical thinking, but yeah, we'll take this question. How would you explain what is literary criticism to, say, an 8-year-old?
8 or 10-year-old.
Through a simple example.
I would like to take that question. So I would explain it. Let's say the 8 or 10-year-old is studying science, or let's say they are studying English in their school, right? So they would study stories and all those different things. So I would say that when you're reading those stories, do you come up with any questions for the stories? Do you have any questions about the stories that they count as literary critical thinking for literature?
Purnima, let me make life simple for you. You have Ramayana. Can you give me an example of literary criticism on Ramayana?
Okay, I would say from a feminist perspective, when Sita ji was shown that she had to go through the fire test, right? I don't know what to call it. Basically, she had to walk through fire to prove her basically her sanity to the people, right? I don't think that was the right thing to do. That was the right thing to show in a piece of literature. You're basically questioning her, I would say.
Okay. Yeah.
Say, let me don't make it so much complex. So let me say your friend is going to buy a book for his for to write an essay about democracy, say democracy. So can you describe this concept what I'm explaining here and connect it with critical thinking and critique? So
See, Nandakishore, the topic today is not critical thinking. The topic is literary criticism. Literary criticism is a subject on how you can, evaluate the quality of literature and how you can analyze literature. There are standard questions or mechanisms through which you analyze literature. That is called literary criticism. So today's topic is actually literary criticism.
Okay. So yeah, just jumping back to the literature criticism part. So you said the feminist perspective of criticism and the romantic part. So both of these have their own key points or the KPIs, what we are calling key point value, say key points that are emphasized. And can you differentiate between these two, stating the major key points? I mean the major key points of these two, including the feminist.
Can you guys differentiate between? Can you guys differentiate between this romantic criticism and Marxist criticism?
Hello, Mr. Nandakishore. To differentiate, starting with Marxist criticism, it speaks about the classes of people, whether the whether the literature piece of work is highlighting any particular upper class, or it is differentiating and showcasing the upper class as powerful and downseeing the people with lower economical background. And if you see in the feminist criticism, we will be looking into the area where if it is highlighting only men as superior into some roles or being superior to women, it's what we see. In romantic criticism, we see about the aesthetics. Like if this literature is speaking more about the beauty of something that we could say around in the nature, or most of the time aesthetics could be fiction, like how it is.
And going through that, how the emotions comes is these three of them. Does the three of them emphasizing on the emotional part of the writer, or which one has this emotion key point that's emphasized? The emotion of the writer, or the one who written this kind of literature.
I didn't get your question. Can you
do any of these three schools of thought have something to do with emotion of the writer?
Exactly.
Which of them investigate the emotion of the writer?
Yeah.
So which one, or
maybe
the three of them has it, or
yeah, could be that three of them could be having the emotion. Because if you see,
let's go one after the other. Marxist criticism, does it investigate the emotion of the writer?
Yeah, Daru.
How and why?
Like if you see, it is more about being biased to one particular class. Like if you could say, he is more emotionally attached to one particular perspective of view.
No, actually, how it actually attached to that? Can you
give an example of? Can you give an example of an author being attached?
Okay. Aristotle, he himself being inferior to a woman, as one of the greatest philosophers.
Not sure if you've answered the question. Can you give an example of that attachment, right? Like you said, the author could be attached to upper sections or weaker sections. Can you give an example? Team Seal, anyone?
Okay, just let me take a general example. Like in most of the let me take a piece of work, like in movies or some books, when you see the people who are in higher class or has the money and power are showcased with the highest flexibility to do whatever they want to do, and they will have the highest flexibility.
So what is this
Where
about the emotions or attachment of the author?
Yeah, that's what it's to do with emotions.
Can I go in?
Yeah.
I don't know if it really brings in the author perspective, like emotion of an author, but in the story of Arjun, he had a guru, right, who was really attached to him, and Arjun was from an upper class, and there was another person who was from a lower class, right? And the guru was teaching them how to fight and all of that. And the person from the lower class learned all these things, but he wasn't allowed to due to his caste. Since he still learned all the concepts and everything, but at the end of the story, the guru saw that the person from the lower caste could have been a greater warrior.
Purnima, in both the cases, you're going too much into the detail and less into the argument. We've read Ramayana, we've read Mahabharata, we understand. So what's your argument?
So the argument is that the guru was being more was emotionally attached to the Arjun.
Fair enough. But how does this answer the question?
Okay.
It's a partial answer. But do you get this question? His question was, can you give an example of how this thing evaluates the emotion of the author? So now you're talking Marxist criticism. Now this is Marxist criticism. Now how is this Marxist criticism evaluating the emotion of the author? So you are saying here that fellow discriminated against a person of a certain social section. Now this is an example of Marxist criticism that you are saying. If I'm doing Marxist criticism, I'll say, in this story, lower sections were discriminated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you gave an example, but you didn't connect the example back to the argument. So that again, so your answer doesn't really answer because you gave an example, but you didn't connect your example to the answer. So that's something which you could improve on.
Okay, sure.
I'd like to go to Mr. Abraham in case you have questions so that.
Currently. Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Abraham.
Yeah. Okay. So, team serial. Yeah. My question is, do this criticism has any role in building an entrepreneurship journey, or do this criticism play any type of valid role in an entrepreneurship journey?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
This literary criticism concept, does it have a role in entrepreneurship journey?
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to answer this question. I would say yes, it plays a very major role because it is not only involved in judging about the thing. Moreover, it helps us in evaluation, analyzing, identifying the strength and the weakness of a thing, and where the areas to be improved. And if an area needs improvement, we can further investigate or we can further research on that, and we can bring a new information, bring a new concept on that. So it might really help in that throughout the journey to come up with a good entrepreneurship.
Okay, Shakiba, back to you, Mr. Abraham, for a follow-up question.
Yeah. Okay. So is that criticism or critical thinking?
It is criticism.
Then what's the definition of critical thinking?
Critical thinking is also not exactly like criticism, but like engaging in more or analyzing more about the literature or more about the the information or something like that. Provoking or having a great challenge to analyze the information.
Okay, so currently you're explaining the definition of critical thinking, and then what is the explanation of criticism?
What literary criticism? Right?
Yeah. Literary criticism. What's the explanation of that?
Somebody from my team want to go in?
I would like to say that criticism is basically the judgment that would have at the end of asking all those questions. And so let's say you critiqued or a piece of literature, the judgment that you will get to, that would be your criticism.
Okay, fine. And where this literary criticism comes in the strategy or an entrepreneurship journey?
Okay. So from one angle, if you can see that as an entrepreneur, you might read a lot of literature on a lot of concepts, or so there are a lot of concepts from entrepreneurs that have been there before you, right? You might read all these literature, but not to just take them as what it is. If you're able to ask questions, if you're able to critique it, you might be able to understand it better, and you might be even able to create your own concept out of it.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah. Okay.
Mr. Abraham, I probably have to close it in the interest of time.
Okay. Yeah. One last question.
Sure.
Is criticism or critical thinking is more important in in an entrepreneurship journey? Which is more important?
I would say
critical thinking, because it's more of the evidence and the observations we do and take in consideration. But criticism comes in place where throughout the entrepreneurship journey we will learn and meet many people, right? So if we criticize and judge better, then you could make your own points, like Purnima mentioned.
Okay, fine. So I will close my words with three sentences. If you are an entrepreneur or if you are in an entrepreneurship journey, both are equally important. Okay. Why? Because critical thinking is highly important when you are on initial phase of your entrepreneurship journey. Why? Because on the time of critical thinking, you just evaluate the pros and cons of an issue. Okay. If you are going to start something if you are planning to if you are on building a marketing strategy, so you will get the positive side and negative side of that same thing. But this is critical thinking. I just, due to the time constraint, I'm not explaining each and everything. But where the literary criticism comes in an entrepreneurship journeys, when you are on you already apply your marketing strategy, and you are doing marketing, but on that time you can evaluate and that literary criticism comes in play, and you can go through the result. Okay. Where the flaws happen, and where the things are not working like that. So
sorry, I think we're confusing criticism with literary criticism. Literary criticism is a subject which is taught to students of literature. Literary criticism helps us look at literature and analyze that literature from various points of view. So there are people who taught how to, like how there are film critics who learn how to analyze a film from different points of view. They learn film theory, and using film theory, they analyze film. So literary criticism is a subject which is dedicated to how you analyze literature. So
let me, I think the answer of my previous question has been not yet done yet. So the answer is most predominantly the emotional parts come from the romantic criticism. So that's the romantic part has
it can come everywhere, you know. That's what.
Yes, including the feminism criticism. It's the post-colonial criticism. It's the so couple of criticism part has this feature, but predominantly the imagination, the emotions comes straightly to these.
Mr. Radhakishore, again, in the spirit of dialogue, it's important for me to respect perspectives. While you have a perspective that in romantic criticism you think more emotions come out, the team had an opinion that they come out in all of them, because as Purnima pointed out, in Marxist criticism as well, the emotion can come out because she was disappointed that in Mahabharata, Ekalavya had injustice. So there again, emotion is coming out, and emotion can come out in all the three streams. But wanted to bring a point here. So look, when you're doing a startup, right, in the early stage of a startup, your valuation is completely story driven, because you're yet to create something, you're yet to hit revenues. So in a way, your valuation is completely literature driven because it's story driven. You're writing a story of your startup, right? How your startup is going to go from today to 5 years. So maybe you can again use these ideas to, critique that story. So maybe the principles come in there because you're learning how to take a story and analyze a story. And startup is all about storytelling, right? You're telling a story of where you are today and where you'll go. So these tools can be useful to analyze the story. Yeah. Sure. We'd love to have the jury remarks before we conclude the program. We'd love to hear your thoughts about the participants, the program.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, my first experience telling the philosophy part. So yeah, during my years of, in years of experience on entrepreneurial journey, I did have this kind of talk. So we most probably have this pitching kind of things happening in and out, and have some of the webinars. So the most of them has technical, and I don't talk about this philosophy part of life journey. So it's my first time speaking this kind of the philosophies of entrepreneurial journey, and also philosophy of various concepts, understanding the remembering, the literature criticism, and a lot of concept. I think it's somewhat new for me and somewhat fascinating. I think the Tarun has, I think I think you are an extraordinary guy. A lot of knowledge on various concepts, various philosophy, various thoughts, and you have fantastic thoughts about on entrepreneurship, and also on life itself. And also the team Ludwig and team CL has these ideas, and it's very good. I think the time is actually fly by, and I didn't look into this time part. I think it's almost two hours has been passed, and it's wonderful, and a wonderful night for me, I think. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Amritsar. Okay, Mr. Abraham.
Yeah, and thank you, Deep Thought. Exactly same like Nandakishore. Nandakishore is more on tech side, and I'm more on marketing and business development side. So this type of a more philosophical based sessions are exactly new for me. Why? Because we are more on when the pitching happens, we only evaluate the good marketing strategy or good GTM or that type of things. But here, the session is really nice, and your idea and your way of presenting, and Tarun, personally, Tarun, you are completely clear how to moderate and how to articulate the things. That's really super and new for me. And this is really a new experience, and all the team members are good ideas, and but some points they are lacking related to little bit. They are confused on some points, and otherwise they are completely nice, and super experience for me.
Thank you, Mr. Abraham. Thank you, Mr. Nandakishore. So as you can see here today, we had a diverse audience. Raman and Purnima are software developers with us, while Mitali is into industrial psychology. Balaji and Shakiba are technical project managers in a pharma company. Tushar is in our psychology research team. Saumita is in the finance team. Umang is one of our analysts and operations managers. So Deepti is a content writer for Bolton School. She's into content writing and copywriting. So we believe all these youngsters, Deep Thought works with the mission of nurturing these interns and freshers into future CXOs. So we feel one of the important things for them is to have clarity of thinking and to have a command over language, the connection between language and meaning. So we conduct these Socratic dialogues every weekend, so all the interns and freshers can think deep around whatever they're doing and carry this into their work. I'm sure that tomorrow when Raman gets into coding, this will help him get a lot of clarity into how he organizes his backend code and so on. And that's the intent of this program. And we'd love to, and I really loved the connections which came in. Like, no matter what topic was thrown, Mr. Abraham was very clear. Tell me how is this connected to entrepreneurship? Tell me how are you going to sell a startup story? That was nice. And Mr. Nandakishore was like, okay, I'm a math guy. I'm interested in math. Okay, connect this to math and show me. Connect this to some equations and show me. So that brought a lot of diversity to the program. It was fun. Thanks a lot for joining, Mr. Nandakishore and Mr. Abraham.
Yeah. And you guys are from, I think, I have some idea about you guys are from. You're actually located from. So I'm from Kerala, and you guys are from. Tarun, you're from
I'm from Hyderabad.
Hyderabad. And other team members, can we have some?
Yeah. So all of you can where is from here.
Yeah, I'm from Delhi.
Yeah, I'm from Delhi as well.
I'm from Haryana.
I'm from Hyderabad.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
Nice.
from Kolkata.
Yeah, I'm from Ahmedabad.
Okay.
I'm from Manipur.
And I think one of guys is missing.
I am from Tirupati, currently working in Hyderabad.
I'm also from Kerala, but currently I'm residing in Hyderabad.
Hey, you're from Andaman Nicobar.
No,
Yeah.
but like I
I think
fluctuate in both the
I
places.
can understand she's from Kerala because we have Kerala as the sixth sense. So we understand.
Yeah, me and Nandakishore, and right now Shakiba from Kerala.
You, Abraham, you understand that she's from Kerala, right?
Yeah, right.
We
She's
have
from
the Malayalis
Kerala.
have the sixth sense.
She's from Kerala. Her parents live in Andaman Nicobar. Now she's working in Hyderabad.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. Anyway, nice team. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye. Have a nice day. Bye. Good night.